Today, we're excited to introduce you to Jeff Parks, a U.S. Coast Guard Academy graduate who served as the Director of Training and Leadership Development for the U.S. Coast Guard. After his military service, Jeff founded Performance Breakthroughs, Inc., PBI, where he spent 25 plus years helping organizations, teams, and individuals achieve excellence. He focuses on local governments and transitioning military members and veterans. Jeff has battled pancreatic cancer for over 10 years and recently closed his business due to entering hospice at home. In our conversation, he shares his perspective on measuring success through his impact on people rather than organizational and financial numbers, and his philosophy of live your passion, give your gift. Jeff and Rod's 20-year relationship provides a fun chemistry to the interview. His approach to end-of-life conversations and his focus on what truly matters, the relationships and differences we make in people's lives, offers profound wisdom for leaders at any stage of their journey.
Welcome to the MilCom Founders Podcast, where we champion and celebrate military community business founders. In each episode, we will talk with a MilCom business founder to learn how they work through various obstacles and opportunities in business and in life. I'm your host, Rod Loches. Let's meet today's guest. Welcome to the MilCom Founders Forum podcast. I'm your host, Rod Loches. Each of our conversations is designed to champion and celebrate a military community founder while inspiring and educating our community. Today, we get to hear the inspiring story of Jeff Parks, a retired Coast Guard officer and the founder of Performance Breakthroughs, Inc. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thanks, Rod. Very happy to be here.
I appreciate it. That's for sure. Thanks for taking the time. So, Jeff, I want to just start off with learn a little bit about you. So if you could tell me about your family, and maybe after that we'll talk a little bit about your where you grew up. But let's start with the family. First things first.
Well, I have a beautiful wife that we are approaching our 49th year of marriage. And so we'll get into it a little bit later on, but I have cancer and I'm hoping I last long enough to have the 50th. Two beautiful children, one boy, one girl. One has grandkids, one has kids, and one doesn't. So we celebrate the numerous grandkids that he has, and we celebrate her for what she brings to the table.
Absolutely.
They both live nearby, so we get to see them fairly frequently. The daughter is into photography. The son is into auto mechanics, and he actually fixes cars for Prince William County Police. So
That's awesome.
kind of like the fact that we're contributing back to the community.
100%. Now, Jeff, how many grandkids do you have via your son and his wife?
We have 8 grandkids via my son and 0 from my daughter.
8 is enough, right? Remember that TV show?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a nice, wholesome show, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
they are treasures. We absolutely love them.
that's wonderful. Now, Natalie is from this, or has heritage from this little place called Puerto Rico. How does that fit into your family story, Jeff?
Well, first of all, I didn't know that. So cool to hear that, Natalie. I've been stationed in various places during my Coast Guard career, and so we'll go there just briefly right now. I was on a ship in Boston. I was at the San Juan, Puerto Rico Coast Guard Rescue Center, where we sent boats and helicopters out to, first of all, search for and then find and rescue folks. I had a couple-year stint in Oklahoma City at the Educational Center. Everybody was always asked, what's the Coast Guard doing in Oklahoma? That's a long story. My degree is actually in counseling, so I went back to the Coast Guard Academy to be the counselor for the cadets. We'd had 2 suicides during my senior year, and we wanted to proactively address that. I had a 4-year stint in Long Beach, California, in a law enforcement center, which included rescues, but also illegal aliens and drugs and all those. And then I had 5 years here in Coast Guard headquarters in the training world. But met Alma during, Alma was actually a Coast Guard reservist, and I met her during the time there in Puerto Rico.
That's very cool. it's a nice, beautiful story. And funny, a little bit funny story how you met your wife too. So I remember just listening
Well,
to this.
and you know the big deal. It was basically through the chow line, waiting to get served lunch.
Uh, he locked Alma into the cafeteria line so he could meet her. That's my version of the story. That's my
That's not
version.
that far away. We were the last two. So yeah, yeah,
She had to stay there and talk to Jeff. That's right.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. So Jeff, what's something that inspires you? Something that brings you energy, brings you peace? What's something that inspires you on a personal level?
Well, I love making a difference. And a lot of people will say that. Um, I mean that from multiple perspectives. So in my work, I work with organizations, I work with teams, and I work with individuals. So I find inspiration from each of those, and each of those has kind of a different timeline. With individuals, you can almost see the instant gratification part of that, where they walk out of a meeting and their life has been perhaps pointed in another direction. With teams, you get them to perhaps refocus. I did work with Brookings Center for Education, and out of 2, 3 meetings, they changed their whole culture. They basically created core values, and they moved down that core value path. And then with organizations, it takes longer. Some of those have been 2-year stints, and we basically work through what I call the framework for organizational excellence, and we help them assess themselves against that framework and then take on bite-sized pieces and really kind of come to terms with what they really were. And everything was on the table. And then if they committed they would basically take a 2-year journey to excellence.
Mhm.
So it depended on which group and depended on their willingness to really invest. But long story short is making a difference. I guess if I had to pick one, it would be the individuals, because you could see the impact right away. Yeah, and you're one of them, Rod. I mean, you could tell your little story, but just making a difference in people's lives is the real centerpiece of that.
Yes, and you definitely have done that through PBI and your efforts. That's for sure. Thank you, thank you. And I will mention my personal Jeff story, my Jeff nugget in a little bit here. But why, as a young man, did you decide to join the not just the military, but the Coast Guard specifically? How did that come about? That's a big decision at 17, 18 years old.
Well, Rod and I have this continuing back and forth about, is the Coast Guard really military? Absolutely. What people sometimes don't realize is it's not Department of Defense. Therefore, I saw on your little communication thing that you want my service number. I don't have a service number.
Yep,
Uh, that just didn't apply. I went to the Coast Guard Academy and basically spent 4 years there, and then went right out into the field on a ship.
yep.
What inspired me? Multiple things. I think the Coast Guard's mission inspired me. I think the fact that the Coast Guard Academy was free inspired me, because I had 2 other sisters that needed to go to college. I think the fact that the academy was only an hour away from where we lived in Connecticut. Um, and so multiple things inspired me.
When's the last time you've been out on the water, Jeff?
That's a good one. The folks that know your kayaking routine.
Hmm.
That's not the last time. I would say 3 or 4 years. You know, the
Hmm.
pandemic had an issue. So basically, I go in the water when I get invited. So
There you go.
here it is, man.
Okay.
It's
Well,
in
you're
your
invited.
it's in your court.
Yeah, let's get you out there. If we get nice weather coming up this week, let's get you out there in the water. That'd be
It's in
great.
your court, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. That'd be wonderful. That's for sure. So, you sign up for the Coast Guard and you have a lifetime of service through the Coast Guard. But tell me that. Tell me about, some of the core learnings that you had while serving in the Coast Guard. What were some of those life-changing moments that you could share, or ideas that you experienced while serving in the Coast Guard?
Hmm. I'm not sure that it's moments, it's the accumulation of experiences. Um, Certainly, and this is where it's going to parallel a lot of your other guests, but certainly the camaraderie. We have a number of my classmates that get together. Um, Probably every 4 to 5 months. I'm class of
Wow,
73 from the academy, and what's today? We're getting together in 2 weeks,
nice.
at a local restaurant in the DC area. We tell stories about not just the academy, but what we did after that, bosses that we've had that we like, that we don't like. What folks might find surprising is, there's all that focus on the Coast Guard part of it, but a lot of it is on travel. Where have you been that you really like and love? And so, at least me personally, I get a lot out of where do I want to visit,
Uh-huh.
and what have other folks done to make that happen in their life. So, the lifelong learnings, camaraderie. I think just the tangible and intangibles that coming out of the military bring for you, that make you successful, not just in business and in life. So many of the same things your other guests will have, but kind of the summation of all that. I think maybe the grit part needs to be mentioned in terms of just I've been in business. I just closed my business because of my cancer, but maybe the grit to go 28 years through several cycles of getting started from zero and getting through the pandemic, getting through the 9/11, all those kinds of things. You got
Yeah,
to have grit, and I think the Coast Guard helped me have grit.
absolutely. Now, what's a story that you remember that happened in the Coast Guard that inspired you, or that you remember that's been foundational for you?
What's the story that I remember? Help me.
So something like maybe there's a rescue that you helped participate in, or the counseling at the Coast Guard Academy. What's one of those things that you are most proud of? Those things that you achieved while you're in there.
Well, let me do this in two parts. Let me do this in a humor part because humor is part of how I deal with my life, and then let me reflect because the other part is more of the organization has an answer, the team has an answer, the individual has an answer. You are part of my individual part, the team part I just talked about in terms of Brookings, which is very, very respected. Um, but
Yes.
the story I like to tell is I went to the academy during the 60s. And so
Wow.
hair was late 60s. And so hair was a big deal. We used to have women climb over the fence. Connecticut College was across the street, and they would put flowers in our rifles. And that was attempting to, dissuade us and stop the parade and all that kind of stuff. But we kept going. I mean, that's what we had to do, but hair was important. So fast forward years and years, we had basically tried to barter with the barbers to give us another quarter inch because it made a difference in being out there with the ladies and the dating and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so I was always kind of pushing the envelope in terms of the length of the hair. During inspections, I was okay, but aside from inspections, I was kind of pushing it. And my boss was okay with that. He and I ran together at lunch. He was really cool. He'd been a Army warrant officer, Vietnam pilot, so
Wow.
he had the bigger picture. So he kind of gave me grace to let me do that, and I've never forgotten what that means. But long story short is his boss was hassling him about my hair. And so the first time he just kind of let it go. Second time, let it go. Third time, let it go. Fourth time, he goes, "Listen, Captain, the problem is not that his hair is too long. The problem is that his neck is too short.
Got it. Yeah.
So I have never ever forgotten that guy. And when you ask about the Coast Guard part of that, that's a leadership lesson. So that has been foundational in terms of what I teach, in terms of, who do you value, trust, just he went above and beyond for me, basically fighting for me with that '06,
Wow.
who basically was hassling me about my hair.
Wow. That's a good
But just
story.
that was a leadership lesson I keep to this day.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a
Thank you.
great one. That's for
Thank you.
sure. Any on the mission level or the
So on the mission level, I can speak to rescues. I can speak to uh, this is a little bit more business. We helped create the foundational program for Homeland Security's Executive Capstone Program.
wow.
Um, the DHS, when it first formed, had 22 different organizations, and they were all disparate. And so there needed to be some foundational group that brought the senior leadership together and had kind of a focus. And so this took a year and a half or so, a lot of kind of laying down the groundwork, but just we created probably about a 6-month program where they would go through and really learn how to talk to each other. There's the inside the Beltway and there's the outside the Beltway, and trying to get them to. They always came together when there was an urgent operational mission. But we wanted folks from all the different agencies to collaborate more on a ongoing basis. So that was a big deal. We helped them kind of move toward higher synergy there.
Wow. Jeff, you mentioned that you're a runner, and I think you shared with me the other day that you ran the Boston Marathon twice. Is that right?
I ran Boston 3 times. Um, Again, always stories, but the first time the buddy of mine and I got separated, and he hitchhiked to the end, and I hitchhiked to the beginning, and we waited for each other for 4 hours until the wives talked. And she said, Mike's at the Prudential Center, go get him a 6-pack and a beer, or go get him a pizza and a 6-pack. And so
Uh-huh.
I did, and he was freezing cold, and so there was that, and then I went back a couple more times. I finished the best one in 3:29, so I'm real
Wow.
proud of that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a great time.
yeah, and
Congratulations.
actually, I don't. It's up there. The guy I ran with was the printer. The guy did all the printing for the Coast Guard Academy. He
Uh-huh.
he took his certificate and reprinted it with my name and time
Uh,
to kind of showcase that it really did happen.
uh-huh. That's funny. That
Really,
is awesome.
really pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, switching gears a little bit from the Coast Guard to your business life, how did you or why did you start performance breakthroughs? How did that come about?
So I've had a couple, I guess God gives you a direction and a plan that you may or may not expect. So I've gotten passed over once in the Coast Guard and once in civilian life. And I basically had to figure out what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I hired a civilian coach who helped me with the last 5 years of my Coast Guard career. And she actually had what we call a career puzzle. And the career puzzle looked at all my strengths and weaknesses and um, skills and the whole gamut of things.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of helped me realize that I had a real gift that I needed to give. And I was beginning to realize more and more that I needed to reap the benefits of that gift.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the Coast Guard didn't appreciate it, but just that going forward, they passed me over, and I was not pleased with that. I didn't feel like it was fair. Longer story there, but just I decided at that moment that I was going to personally reap the benefits of all that investment. Um, so I had the good fortune to be in a location and position to create a good network, to see that I got the right kinds of training, and basically I used the last 5 years of my service to get ready to do something that would benefit others, but also benefit me. And so a lot of my classmates would basically take off their shoulder boards on Friday, and they would start a civilian job in the same office on
Wow.
Monday. And I realized that that just wasn't for me. It wasn't for me culturally. And so I spent the time figuring out, how do I translate, what I did, for the last 4.5 years into something that would be a direct complement to what I wanted to be. And so some of the folks listening to this may be familiar with Daniel Pink's work. Daniel
Hmm.
Pink does a book called Drive, and he basically says we have three drivers in our life: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And that I committed to maximizing all three of those. So essentially, the decision came around: what could I do to have strong autonomy, mastery, and purpose? And that was to have my own business doing something similar to what I was doing in the headquarters job. And
Yep.
so I positioned myself over the last 5 years to do a great job to develop the network and have people say good things, but also to put forward a personal plan that would help me get there.
Yes, absolutely. The it's funny because Jeff, as I've worked with you over the years, and we've known each other for I think 23, 24 years now. As I look back on it, it's funny because, and see if you agree with this or not. I see that you offered me and helped me in a way. I would call it the three C's. Sometimes you would coach me. Sometimes you would counsel me and help me understand things better. And sometimes, darn it, you would just cajole me and you would help me understand what the hell are you doing, Rod? Are you going to do it or are you not going to do it? Are you going to go forward or are you not? And having that trust with you to be able to be coached by you, counseled by you, and that was your listening to me and understanding some of the challenges I was going through. And sometimes holding me accountable and cajoling me to action. All three of those things were hugely valuable to me in my life. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's interesting to see that coaching and counseling was really part of who you were from even back in your days of college,
Yep,
Um,
yep, yep. And
so that's
I'm glad you stayed with me, because there were times that I wasn't sure you were going to stay with me.
well, there was times I
But
wasn't sure either. I didn't want to be told some of the things you were telling me, Jeff.
but I saw promise, and I wasn't willing to give up.
Well, thank you. I'm very blessed that you did not give up
Yeah,
and you had the patience and courage to stick in there with me. That's for sure. I've learned a
you're
lot.
very welcome. And now we're seeing the benefits of it. Many others have, I believe on the multiplier effect, and so many others are reaping the benefit because what I helped you do, you're passing on. So
That's very true. And thank you for that.
yeah,
So, Jeff, the other day we were talking and you mentioned something that I said, I've got to have you on the podcast. It just was like, boom, it was right then and there. And that's when we were having lunch the other day. And you said something about, I asked you, how did you measure the impact in your business, Performance Breakthroughs Inc.? How do you measure success? And you answered that it was about the impact on X, Y, and Z. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I was a participant in the Institution for Sales Excellence, and I think you and I both know the leader of that,
Fred Diamond. Yep.
Fred Diamond, good guy, and he brought forth a lot of really good speakers. Um, One of the speakers had people stand up and talk about the byproduct of all their work and how did they measure success. And I sat there and I listened, and multiple people talked about growing their company from 3 million to 5 million. They talked about growing their staff from 10 to 35, and on and on and on. And not to disparage, but I just said that doesn't ring for me. What rings for me is people that come back to me years later, year one of maybe 50, that have basically said, you made a difference in my life. Here's, where I am now, and that wouldn't have happened without your patience and your understanding. And so I really realized, and I'd seen this before, that my gift, and I have a mantra, which I'm sure other people know it as well: live your passion, give your gift. I have a mantra that I follow that helps people center in, why are they here? Why did why did God put them on this earth? And so, live your passion, give your gift is my answer to that. And so I've, basically focused on that and try to make that the centerpiece of what I do.
Absolutely. So you've mentioned a couple people to me. I think Barry the Yankee fan.
I'm
What's
sorry, one more time.
Barry the Yankee fan?
Yeah, Barry DeNicola. Do you know him?
Do not, but you mentioned that he was one of
Yeah.
the people that you had an impact on, and
Yeah,
just wanted to hear.
folks that know me know that I'm a big Red Sox fan, and I'm actually seeing the lady who helped me get into the Pentagon after the Red Sox won their World Championship in 2004. You might remember 9/11 created a whole new set of restrictions, and so the first,
Yeah.
the second, the third person that I asked, "Can you get me in there?" Wasn't available. And so, bless her, she was fourth on the list, and she took me in and got to see and hold the statue and embrace that moment.
Wow.
Barry and I have known each other 20 plus years from Booz Allen, and just we've stayed in touch.
Hmm.
We talk about Yankees, Red Sox, but we talk about a lot of other stuff because he feels I've had a similar impact on his career. So I
Hmm.
guess where I'm going with this is that I think these kinds of relationships transcend um, any other perhaps differences that you might have with individuals, because they get to the core of it. And so, Yankees Red Sox becomes more of a fun thing than an issue, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
You know,
he's one of a quite a significant number of folks that I treasure, still being in touch with after years and years.
yeah, absolutely. Jeff, you were coaching me back in the day in the mid, early 2000, mid 2000s. You helped me figure out stuff in my tech business, but more importantly, you helped me figure out stuff inside me.
Okay.
You helped me figure out what I valued, and you helped me start to live a values-based life that also opened the door for me to come to Christ years later. But had I not stayed engaged with you, had I not taken your counsel and even your cajoling, I would not have come up, we would not have come up with, and Jeff, you're an example of it. You helped me understand the term that I call high value long term relationships. And for me, what that's about is how do you find those relationships? How do you get them, keep them, and build them? Because without those relationships, what else do we have in our life? You
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff, as I started thinking about that and understanding that better, it helped me make my decisions better, uh, faster, and better decisions, quite frankly. Helped
Mm-hmm.
me treat people better, to include myself.
Mm-hmm.
Most importantly, I'll say myself, because until I understood that, high value long term relationships starts with yourself, and quite frankly, with your faith and your family and your friends. You let the next fad, the next conversation guide you, or I let that guide me,
Mm-hmm.
the fads and things like that. But once I started to understand HVLT was my guiding value system, it's changed everything for me.
Okay.
And I really appreciate that. It's
Oh, you're very welcome, very deserving. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really made an impact on how I run my business, how I pray, how I take care of my team members, my more importantly, my family, my friends,
Mm-hmm.
and really everyone.
Mm-hmm.
HVLT is I'll call it a multi-level approach. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just one thing for everyone. It's but how do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
And
And if I
to
could stop you real quick, that's the kind of stuff that fuels my continuation.
yes,
I've mentioned that a number of people have spoken out recently, particularly since, they know I have cancer. That fuels me to continue and almost like, put a bow on it.
mhm,
Um, Always appreciate hearing those stories.
yeah, it's in the past 2 weeks in our business. We had one person, I'll leave the details out. He faced a very challenging situation. And the beauty of it was I asked the team members if they could help this other team member out financially. And some team members donated, actually, every team member donated to help this young man out through his financial challenge, of which it was a natural disaster. And and then our company matched the donations from the team. And that is just one small example of HVLT, high value long term relationship, that I was able to share. Another one is Inma, who you recently met. She decided to move back to Spain recently for family reasons and good reasons. Um, but today she just shared a picture of her new car that she just bought in Spain. And to see our team members survive and thrive, is what's really rewards me today. And
Hmm.
that comes from learning HVLT,
Hmm.
coming to my faith, and surrounding myself with great people.
Hmm.
Um,
And that means
and
so much more than the 30 to 50, the 1 to 25, those numerical things that I guess it's a little irreverent, but I allow myself to go there. So what?
right,
1 to 25, so what? What really matters is the impact part.
that's right, that's right. And so having that impact and helping those people achieve the impact in their lives
Hmm.
is what's wonderful. Or a month ago we had a reunion of people that used to work at 1 degree. And Jeff, those people came back, and they left for good reasons, and they're great people. And to be able to come back and celebrate with them
Hmm.
was pretty cool. And again, I think that's a byproduct of learning my value system. And it's not just while they work at 1 degree, it's helping them achieve success on their whole journey, before, during, and after they're with 1 degree.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
that's part of the journey that I want to enjoy, and
Cool.
enjoying with the different people. And you helped me understand that was my real driver. So
Well, thank you for that feedback.
absolutely, it's been a great gift, that's for sure. So we talked about the personal level. What about some of the organizations you helped out with through PBI? You've got,
So
sorry.
the ones that are willing to invest in a long-term commitment, and notice the long term is the centerpiece here. have reaped really big rewards. I have a framework. It's an eight-piece puzzle, and I'll briefly go over it. For organizations to really achieve excellence, they have to have a clear picture of where they want to be in 2 to 3 years. They have to have a culture that facilitates them getting there. And so it's interesting that we're doing this podcast right now, tonight. I don't know when it'll be broadcast, but tonight the Patriots and the Commanders play. And so I've always been a Patriots fan. Rod's always been a Commanders fan. It has always been a fun back and forth about the culture of the two organizations. Um, Over the past couple, 3 years, the cultures have flipped. And so I'm now the one on my knees begging for grace. And Rod's standing over me saying, when are you going to come back? When are you going to come back? So clarity in terms of the future that you want, the culture that will help you get there, the leadership that will inspire and really bring you back. I'm rattling off the eight pieces there. The engagement level of people to buy into that culture. You'll see the new coach come in, and he or she, depending on the sport and whatever, will say, I'm going to change the culture here. And when people buy into it and wholeheartedly adopt it, it happens. It happens. So those what comes from my ISPI world, which is focused on performance, is basically, do people get the learning and do they improve their performance beyond just the training part of it? So there's a unique um, discipline out there called performance consulting. And that's actually the centerpiece of what I do, helping folks kind of adopt the performance consulting mindset. If we're not behaving and performing the way we want, what's keeping us from doing that? It also includes measurement to accomplish the desired outcomes, but also measurement to improve the culture. It also includes managing change. How do I lead and manage change? And at the centerpiece of it, we call it customer delight. How do I make sure that the customers are both happy with the outcome, but also happy with the experience?
Mhm.
So we like to assess, train, guide, and measure progress on all those eight components of organizational excellence, and help folks kind of keep centerpiece in terms of how they deal with them, not just individually, but collectively. And
Mhm.
so benchmarking is a really big deal for me. Who's out there doing really good stuff? And what is it that we can borrow from them? I do a lot of my work with local governments. And so local governments, including Prince William, who we did the strategic plan for over the next 4 years, uh, it's easier to benchmark because the type of work is pretty much the same. They all have a Parks and Rec department. They all have a Public Works department. They all have public safety. So you can kind of compare how they all do fairly similarly across the board.
Mhm.
So I do nudge a lot of benchmarking work to kind of say, we're probably at a B compared to others. Do we want to become an A? Well, some do and some don't. And so to use the term cajole, I sometimes
Mhm.
say nudge or push or any of the other stronger words, but just want to find out if folks are really committed. I think commitment's is the thing I look for, and if they're committed, then I can take them there. Uh, and so basically, we want to teach, what excellence looks like and who's out there doing it well and what can you borrow from them.
Yeah.
if they're willing to take that 2-year journey, uh, we can turn that ship around.
Well, Jeff, I remember sitting with you at a Mexican restaurant on Prince William Parkway one evening, and you coached, counseled, and cajoled me for a couple hours that night, and I think that's where HVLT really came home to roost for me and started
Mm,
to live in my heart. And that was when I knew there were things I needed to do to be able to live within my value system. And you helped me finally have the courage to start to do that. There were hard decisions I had to make, but I made those after that conversation. And I thank you for those things.
very welcome.
They made a world of difference with me. So tell me about this lucky fireman that now has your framework of, of performance. How did you get to know this gentleman?
So I mentioned that I have a small team, and we just finished this. Prince William County put out an RFP for a vendor to come in and help guide their journey to figure out what they want to be in 2028. And so we were fortunate enough to win that contract. We spent a year doing a bunch of focus groups. Some of them included employees, some included the community. It was a very inclusive process. Um, and what we basically came up with was a clear picture of what the desired outcome of the community was in terms of the next 4 years. It
Hmm.
took a year, so not 4 - 1 is 3. So we didn't get all of that piece there, but just during that, I happened to sit next to the fire chief for Prince William County,
The
and
fire
so
chief. Okay.
fire
Wow.
chief, yeah, yeah, his name is Chief Tom LaBelle, and so we got to chatting. And actually, I met him a couple days after the Christmas holidays were out, and he seemed interested in some coaching services. Um, it didn't go anywhere right away for numerous reasons on both sides, but just I've stayed in touch with him, and he basically seemed to have some interest in taking this to the next level. And so, although I am not able to fully execute this, I basically prompted him to make a decision,
Okay, like you did with me,
as
like you did
as I've
me.
as I've done with you.
Uh-huh.
And basically, I said, Chief, do you really want to do this or not? And so when I got a kind of a positive response, I said, well, listen, I'm going to have to give away my leadership library, and I want all that work to be useful in somebody else's hands. And so he was just here yesterday and took away, I think you can see up here, I've got 5 shelves of leadership. I call it Jeff Junk. Other people really like it. But I really have collected over 30 plus years books, articles. I really like to use assessments where people assess themselves on Myers-Briggs and DISC and Enneagram and all kinds of other things individually, team, and organizationally. And so, we had an hour plus talk out on my back patio with one of his battalion chiefs. And long story short is he's taking my leadership library and going to put it to good use in his with his staff.
Hmm. Fantastic. That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah,
That's a beautiful way to keep that going forward and giving and giving.
yep.
That's investing, I would say.
But
So,
it's not all that. The nurse that comes out to see me once every couple weeks, her boyfriend collects beer cans. So,
oh, okay.
I have 600 bottles and 800 cans, and he's going to take the beer can collection.
That's awesome.
So, sometimes you can be in this world and be a little I don't know, overly academic and maybe a little, I try not to be too stuck up about it. I've got stuff that all different groups of folks would want,
Yep.
and I benefit from passing it on.
No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, Jeff, who are a couple modern day leaders that you admire and believe that they get it, that they, would you tell me or somebody else, hey, here's some great leaders today you should follow or um, that inspire you?
Well, I don't want this to get political, but the answer to your question is President Obama.
Hmm.
Um, if you stand for organizational excellence, I think he models that. Um, I think he makes it simple. I think he grounds it. There's one thing in particular he said that captured me, and it was just do good work. Somebody will notice, and you'll get promotions, and those will lead to more and more and more and more and more. And so, from a very simplistic mindset, if you just do good work, it will lead you down the path. And
Hmm.
so, trying to just stay apolitical. That's kind of my instant reaction to that question.
Yep. No, that's good leadership insights. That's for sure. So the as our time closes up here, what's one more thing I should ask about? I think you mentioned something about career decisions and family together.
You have a conversation guide that you give to folks like me who are going to do this. Um, I would suggest that you steer people to think more about the role of the family. I feel like every career decision is a life decision. So when you're considering what you want to do in any of these realms, you'd be looking at it from the life perspective, but also the impact on family. So when I do the career coaching, I ask, um, first of all, just write down your own reaction to this and then bring your family into the dialogue and have them kind of contribute to that. So I think that's a piece of it. There was another piece here. How do you take care of yourself? I feel like I used to do a lot of running. That became more of a walking. That became more of an outdoor piece as the ability to do certain things diminished. But just the Boston Marathon, obviously the ability to do that diminishes, but just the love of nature does not. And so, how do you replace that with other things that approximate it? And so, I guess I try to supplement everything that I can do. Let me try it this way. There's heads, there's hearts, and there's hands. And so I try to do the best I can uh, with all three of those. And so sometimes your ability decreases, but you can find approximations. So I look for what can I do that's perhaps not the same level of physical exertion energy, but still accomplishes the same thing. So just what form of nature can I do that's still out there, but
Yeah.
perhaps not to the same level. So
Yep.
um, from the marathons to the running to the walking, still, we had this interview yesterday with the fire chief, and it was outdoors during a glorious day. So just um, do your best to maintain. Nature is one of my core values, so do your best to maintain that type of surroundings.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, one of your other core values, I would say, is that, well, tell me what the keys to you and Alma's successful marriage has been. What is
Whoa.
made you have such a resilient and beautiful marriage?
Yeah. Well, um, number one, it's hard. It's really hard. Um, it's not easy. It takes effort. It takes compromise. So I don't know that there's any one thing that comes to mind. Um, we are very opposite. If you go down the whole Myers-Briggs and DISC and all that, you're going to see, opposite on this. So she likes to say opposites attract, and I say yeah, but, and and the but part of that is you have to have something to talk about after the initial attract. So, when you say opposites attract, you can talk about your differences and all that, and that's pretty cool. But um, how do you stay connected when you like different things? And
Hmm.
so I guess my response to that is to find what you do like together. And so for us, it's been travel, food, music. I just sent you my Jeff's top 10 music thing. I actually have it
Yep.
modeled after Casey Kasem's top 40.
Yeah.
I have an American top 40. I have a Jeff's top 40. Um, the guy that created that, Casey Kasem, is from Washington State, Gig Harbor specifically, and
Oh, uh-huh.
my cousin lives there. So just there was some connectivity there. So find out what you do have in common and makes the centerpiece of that. So wineries, music, and travel, and certain uh, musical groups.
Yeah.
And obviously some of the activities that your children like. Our daughter has recently gotten into wildlife photography, so we celebrate that. Um, and basically, she's created a calendar of the wildlife in Yellowstone and Grand Tetons and Glacier National Parks.
Wow.
And so we don't live through our kids, but we basically use that as one of those things that we have in common.
Hmm. Very cool. That's wonderful. Jeff, our time grows short, and I knew our conversation would run long, but thank you for your patience and
Very
enduring
welcome.
my unending questions.
Oh,
But just
sure.
a couple more.
Sure.
Uh, what's a resource, book, blog, podcast, whatever, on leadership and performance leadership? A couple things, resources that you would suggest that we might want to check out.
I kind of knew you were going to go there, and my answer's a little different. Um, I think I don't really subscribe to a lot of stuff. I think finding a mentor or mentors is the best way of learning. Um, I use the mentors plural because I think we each learn different things from different people. So I actually just found out the other day that one of my mentors when I was growing up is in a home in Connecticut. He was also my trumpet teacher, and he's
Mm,
still alive at 90 something.
wow.
So I'm going to write him and thank him. I don't know, how it's going to go, but just I'm going to put pen to paper and say, you may not realize this, and this is in the spirit of you and I, but you had this impact on me. I think I was like 16 and learning how to play trumpet, and my mom got pissed because I was laying on my trying to play trumpet on my bed, and she said, "And I'm paying your music lessons for this?" And I said, "Oh, sorry, mom." But just a point of story is just being able to um, pull in um, the full message. I think you get nuggets from books and
Yeah.
other stuff, but I think the mentors, um, particularly when they have ideas that are similar and they cross boundaries. I'm not sure that's coming out the right way, but just you find out that Rod's ideas and let's just say John's ideas, there's a lot of similarity there. Uh,
Hmm.
so I guess my big thing there is I read a lot, uh, but the reading, the mentorship, I think the benchmarking is a big deal. So if you know in a general sense where you want to go, I think figuring out who's doing that and who's doing it well is a big deal.
Yeah. Great insights. Great insights. So, last question. What's one question I should have asked you and I have not asked you yet, Jeff?
You didn't ask me enough about my cancer, and I don't want to make a big deal of it, but just I think end of life is a big deal.
Hmm.
And so, how do you come to terms with that? Um, it's not easy. It is not easy. So, the stories about the fire chief, the beer cans, um, the faith, the humor. Um, a year or so ago, I wrote a blog article, 9 things I've learned from 9 years with cancer. I try to be a little bit creative and funny, and I don't use AI at all. I don't know what your readers are going to think of that, but just I want to be authentic. So there's always stories there. There's always, from the heart piece. Um, I think you're talking about what am I passionate about? What do I enjoy doing when I'm not working? I think the grander picture of people's health and how that's driving their decisions or non-decisions or avoidance of decisions or I think is something I would put a little bit more focus on.
Understood. I agree with that. And by the way, you made me coin a new term just now. Instead of maybe AI stands for authentic intelligence versus
Oh,
artificial
very
intelligence.
cool. Very cool.
That's what you're sharing with us today is
Yeah,
authentic intelligence and insight. So thank you
yeah,
for that.
yeah.
So, um, so if I was to ask you, what's been the guiding light in your coming to terms with your end of life being close at hand? What is helping you through that process?
I could go down the list. I'm not sure I'm going to get this fully right, but family, faith, uh, humor, um, wonderful medical counsel, um, reflection on what I have done and have accomplished. We go back and we look at the different trips that we've made. We've got a binder for each trip, and so we kind of reflect on that.
Hmm, that's neat.
And actually, we're going to go back to uh, the Canadian Rockies in Western Canada. And so we're using that binder to plan that next trip if I make it that long. And so that's kind of guiding what we did and what we didn't get to do. This was probably 8, 9 years ago, and the fires in Washington State and Oregon produced so much smoke that we couldn't see from the top of the gondola down to the town. And so it's kind of like we need to fix that.
Hmm,
That didn't work. So it's helping us uh, make choices about we did that. Would love to do it again, but just I think we have to do something different with our time.
understood. Understood.
So I think reflection on what we did. Well, let me come at this a different way. Um, some folks will say, what did I not get to do? I'm trying to come at it from what did I get to do? And so I want to kind of make that the centerpiece. Not going to be able to do everything, but just being able to honor. Uh, so today we're going to go through a Southern California binder.
Nice.
We're going to go through an Oregon coast binder, that type of a thing.
Well, Jeff, I know I was very blessed that, you texted me a couple weeks ago and said, "Hey, here's the situation, and I'd like to get together with you for lunch." And I really, really appreciate that I made Jeff's list. I'm very honored that I made your list, and
My pleasure.
very nice that we were able to get John and Stephen to join us, and you've had a big impact on their lives as well. That's for sure. And but we're going to wrap up now. But I want to just say thank you. And Jeff, as a small token of our appreciation, we're going to make $100 donation in your name to the Dick Loges Military Community Scholarship Fund. And that's for a young
Very
person
cool.
to either attend college or trade school, whichever is the right journey for them to take. And so really appreciate your time and your insights today. Thank you so much
You're
for
very
being a
welcome.
guest.
Would
Absolutely.
people enjoy a little Jeff to Rod yuck
Sure,
as a
absolutely.
parting gift?
Sure, absolutely.
So Rod spent a lot of time at Ohio State, and just saying that word, he'll know where this. Yeah, look at that reaction. Yep, he'll know where this is going. There was a point in our lives that we wanted to move to St. Augustine. St. Augustine has a lot of these similar characteristics as Puerto Rico in terms of the fort and the culture and just the look and the feel. And it's got the beach and it's got all that kind of look and feel. And so we actually had been down there at the right time. And it happened to be that back to back, the University of Florida, which is located in Gainesville, won national championships in football and basketball by beating Ohio State. And so we purchased University of Florida hot sauce, and my mouth was clear. But at the end of that lunch, I gave Rod some University of Florida hot sauce by surprise, and
Yes.
it just I don't think he anywhere expected it, but it was a fun way to wrap up that meeting.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I remember that very clearly. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So that's great. Well, thanks
All right,
again,
sir.
Jeff.
Thank you for the time.
Thanks for joining us on the MilCom Founders Podcast. If you know a MilCom founder with a story to share, reach out to us at milcomfounders.com. For each guest on our show, One Degree Financial donates $100 to the Dick Loges Veteran Entrepreneur Scholarship Fund, supporting education for children of a MilCom business owner. Stay ready.